Greetings, greetings. Here, yay, here, yay. This is a message to the collective of chosen. I feel like there's a lot of watchers as well. So, definitely, if you're basically, thank you so much for liking my videos to the chosen and to the cross watchers as well. Um, but I ask that you come in peace. Um, And if you don't come in peace, all of your lower frequency energies will be returned back to you as I invoke Archangel Michael to come into this reading and to protect me and the collective of chosen ones across the four cardinal points of the earth. Let's get it. Let's go. All right. So I am just literally am watching the fall of Babylon in real time, spiritual Babylon in real time. We are watching this. I just saw a viral Caucasian male. I don't know his name, but he is stepping up and calling out his people for capitalism, global capitalism, land theft, stealing the land from indigenous people, being obsessed with the land, being obsessed with capita, being obsessed with, anything that has to do with land and resources and owning land and, all types of stuff like that. And he's calling out his people because those people that are supporting, a lot of these, in a sense, presidents and, and or what they stand for and what they're actually doing and the changes that they're making in real time, they are the ones that are being fired from those federal jobs as well. They are the ones being laid off. They are the ones that are Caucasian farmers, et cetera, that are losing their farms that really was never theirs to begin with because it was stolen indigenous land. And specifically, I might put the link to the video after I do this live. I don't know yet, but he's definitely viral on TikTok and he's making his rounds. And the way that he just speaks about it, he's like, Caucasian, people are running around, spewing this so-called European beauty standard, but they're the number one people that's in the plastic surgery place because their nose is too narrow and too European, or they don't like their Caucasian features. They don't like their European features. They are spending money on pills and tanning, getting skin cancer to get darker. Speaking about, they're, his own people, mind you, their hair being weak, being recessive, being, most easily to be damaged. Their skin aging like, compared to the indigenous people, compared to people that have melanin and different levels of melanin in their skin. Basically, Caucasian people not being the beauty standard, but them pushing this beauty standard on everyone else. But meanwhile, they're going and getting surgeries because they don't like how they look. They don't like their skin. They want to have fuller lips. They want to have more melanin. They're going out in the sun and tanning, even when their skin can't take it, going and taking different things like trying to take melanin and stuff like that. And it just shows getting these lip injections, getting these Botox, literally, hating the fact that you're aging in a sense like spoiled milk, while the people that are Aboriginal, that are indigenous, that are melanin rich, they're running around being racist towards us, but they're in these Botox centers, okay, getting toxins injected into their skin to have younger skin, to not have wrinkles show up. And it just shows that everything is really backwards when you look at it, because how can you truly love yourself when every other day you're cosplaying, in another person's culture? You're stealing indigenous culture, like you stole and are continuously stealing in the indigenous people's land. This guy basically mentioned the lands in the Americas, the land in the Caribbean islands, the lands in certain parts of Asia and Africa. And it's like, wow, they literally this group of people has been, gifted to rule for this particular period of time, and we see how things are going downhill. We see how it's in hell. We see how these corporations don't care about people. They don't care about the land. They don't care about, the earth that we are living on, because these people are not organic to this plane of existence. And so all they care about is money. They don't care who gets hurt. They don't care about the animals being, harmed or tormented. They don't care about people not being able to feed their families. They don't care about the earth being harmed in the process. As long as these corporations are able to rape, rob, murder the earth, people, etc., they don't care. It's a dollar on it. It's a euro on it. And the universe is now fighting back. This is what global warming is about. The planet is heating up, getting off the viruses, ridding herself of the viruses, ridding herself of lower frequencies and lower frequency entities and that are in people, that are in certain places, that are in certain spaces on the earth where they don't belong, including trying to rule the planet when they no longer have rulership or power. And it's slipping out of their hands. And that is why you see global collapse, economic collapse. You see people being laid off. You see people not being able to afford so-called life, quote unquote, all across the globe, especially in the Americas, especially in Canada, so-called US, and, in Europe, because these are the three, including certain islands as well, that are under British so-called rule. But it's it's to the point now where it's like a lot of people just don't know which direction to go in. I'm also seeing so many different, people of all ethnicities and races that are, arguing, and within their own people groups. See, for such a long time, so-called Black Americans, which we already know we're the indigenous people of America, the originals of America, the government has paid every single year, invested $1 billion, not a million, $1 billion into keeping our people divided by religion, by classism, by who's in a secret sorority or fraternity, by who believes in God, who's an atheist, and it really, really shows now, because we're seeing other groups of people, especially in the States, okay, and or globally, that are really literally arguing within their own groups, males, females, different class systems of different, ethnicities and races. And we're seeing so much division and how people are being turned in on each other. And this is, basically what American Negroes have been going through for some time. We've had not only agents within our own race, okay, that was working with the government, being spies, being agents, to go against different movements that were going to and liberating our people and awakening our people to who we actually truly are. We see these, what's the word I'm looking for? We see these other people groups, and we see how the media is playing a role in dividing other people and actually shining a light, okay, on how all of these other people in the States, from all these other different places that come over here to get the American dream, we see now how divided they are. And we also now, see how divided, just to be honest, that a lot of Caucasians are in the Americas. See, racism, was their unity. That's why they passed it down to their children when it came to being racist against the indigenous Americans, the original Americans, Black Americans, whatever label, because they've changed the so-called label and category of our people so many times to try to hide our identity. See, that is what kept them together. Okay. And it's crumbling now, because it's fire inside of their group. Okay, so it's arguing and division between them now, between their males and their females and their women. Now they're arguing amongst themselves, and we see how a lot of them always argued a lot of, like every other people group, nobody is going to get along with everybody within their race. But when it came to so-called Black Americans, because it was literally orchestrated. It was orchestrated. No people get along with all of the women and all the men in their people group. The like-minded within their group get along. That's just what it is. But as a collective front, every other ethnicity, especially with the Caucasians in America, the so-called Latinos, Hispanics, whatever label they want to call themselves, the so-called Native Americans, that was, that title that was given to them by the government, and every other foreigner that comes into America. So now we are seeing the fabric, of that front, that everybody just gets along so much, but the Black Americans, they just can't get along enough to do anything and to keep anything built. But they don't want to go back to the past and see how every time we did come together. We rebuilt cities. They were bombed. They were flooded. Our people were poisoned, injected with who knows what, purposely. And it's like, I'm not making excuses for, the lack of unity within my own people, because I wouldn't be a hypocrite and say that. But I am saying that every other people group, what is y'all's excuse now for all of your dirty laundry being aired out? What's the excuse? Oh, I guess all of the unity, that you guys had is showing that it was being against so-called Black Americans. That's what it is. When you come over here, that was the unity that Caucasians had, that whiteness, that racism, that illusion of inclusion. Well, what we see now is shit hitting the fan. And we see not only Caucasians arguing and fighting amongst themselves and it being exposed. See, it's always been hidden when it came to Caucasians and their degeneracy and the media, let's say, for example, a so-called AKA school shooting. Oh, he just had mental illness. A sniper attack that was with a Caucasian male or a Caucasian female that went on a killing spree. Okay. Oh, it's just always mental illness. But when it comes to so-called Negroes, American Negro Indians, when it comes to the Black Americans, they were just going on a killing spree because they're all criminals. They're this, they're that. But now we're seeing that it's more than just we have criminals within our group, but it's a lot of Caucasian criminals that are out there that have been, floating under the guise of being pure and being white, that are just as guilty as a lot of criminals in the Negro American community. Latinos and Latinas, just as criminal, just as ghetto, just as divided. But everybody and all of these people groups in America put their minds and their coins together, which when you put your coins together and work with the people in your community, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing, because it's actually good group economics. But as American Negroes, we were not able to see what was going on behind the scenes unless it was primary, unless we were actually witnessing, their people going against each other in real life that we witnessed, or, something slipped and, it was exposed. Like how, let's say, so-called Latin American males, don't really respect their women. They don't respect women in positions of power. And that's why they voted against Trump, that basically, as a collective said that he was going to get them out of here. Any illegals was going to get out of here. That was his number one agenda, first and foremost. And we see that there's division within that camp between their males and their females. But as a so-called unified front, we're together and we work hard and our families are together and, we believe in men taking care of women and this and that. Yeah. But you had to come over here to America to have that, because back in your countries, your men are not fighting to protect the land and the women and the children back in the countries where you come from. And that's not only Latin and Central American countries, but that's including the islands and African countries on the African continent as well. It's easy to come over here and get a handout and shit and look down on so-called Black Americans, but you're getting a handout from our resources and our land and what we built and what we fought for and what our ancestors died for. You know what I'm saying? So to come over here and to utilize certain things that we put into place for us and our future generations to get a handout and a step up off of us in order to turn around and shit on us. So now we're seeing in real time, the breakdown of the so-called Latino community. And I literally, and of the, certain Caucasians and a lot of these, illusions that was pushed. Okay, excuse me. I'm gonna be right back. I have hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I'm coming back. Do not leave. Okay, I'm back, you guys. I'm back. I am definitely back. I don't know if people come, people go, people survive, they come back. I had to get me a little bit of tea. What type of tea is this? Really good tea though. Absolutely amazing. I think this might be a detox tea. Okay. But we're seeing, the breakdown of these so-called Latino communities that was just so better than, so-called Black people in America. But I saw a documentary or whatever. I saw, holy crap, making your own history. Well, I'm not going to listen to your people making my own history. Why would I listen to you? Who are you, Wade Childby? That ain't even your real name. You're a troll. I'm not actually making my own history, and I'm going to remove you because you're garbage and you don't have a say here. Yeah, so let me get that comment out of here. And thank you, YouTube. You took somebody's trash comment down. I didn't even get a chance to see it. All praise to the Most High. But it's probably some 1818 on the timer. It's probably some Caucasian with hurt feelings and, that has just been laid off from their jobs. See, when American Negroes have been, laid off from our jobs throughout the eras for nothing, paid less, harassed, going to work, coming from work on specific jobs, depending, especially if they're well paid, everything was okay. So-called Caucasians within their whiteness was also okay with the mistreatment of the Aboriginal people in America. But now that they're getting laid off, now that they can't feed their families the same way, or now that they're feeling, some effects, we've been feeling the effects. We've been, knowing that, okay, we could get fired from our job just off the fact that they don't want us to have that position because it pays too much. Or we may be harassed and, excessively micromanaged on some of these positions to get us to leave so that they could give these good, high paying jobs to their own people. Or you go to a job and it's a decent job, has the potential for growth, pays decent or pays well. Excuse me. And you see a whole lot of American Negro Indians there, or, American Negroes on that job. Next thing you know, you get a Caucasian manager that's a racist. Next thing you get No, you get a Eurasian, Siberian, Mongolian, so-called Latino or Hispanic that gets on and they start firing the Negroes. Okay, they, as a manager, they start bringing their own people in. See, everybody has been against the American Negro in our ancestral land, in our home. Okay, in the government that our people originally created until it was usurped and taken over by, you know, the hands behind the scenes. But Caucasian individuals and the people behind the scenes have played a role, you know what I'm saying, and that role that literally because let's just be real, I know that a lot of Caucasians from different tribes that came from, or you know, that settled into different parts of Europe and then assimilated, you know, to whatever region that they were in, they were not getting along, you know. They were not all getting along. There were tiers. There was upper classes of them, middle class, lower class, and they did not get along. Similar to how our, you know, American Negroes, you know, everybody don't get along in any group. And we see that they came over here as Slavs, as peasants, you know, etc. Those that were of a higher ilk in these European countries got rid of the people that were on their streets, the people that were in their prisons. They were called white Slavs, white slaves, white cargo. They were forced onto these ships and they were sent over into the Americas. And the American Negroes were the ones, American Negro Indians were the ones that saw them come over. If you don't believe me, go look at the book, White Cargo. Go buy the book. It's out there for people to buy. We're in the time now where it's no more, hey, you're pulling information out of your behind and it's no way to validate this information. Absolutely not. It's primary sources to validate this information. There are books, okay, to validate a lot of information. You could go to the Smithsonian, the Library of Congress if you're in America, the British Library, okay, that's over there. A lot of the time, sometimes they swap different artifacts around, you know, and move them around, you know. Even in the Vatican, they have a lot of artifacts that is not open for viewing for the general public, but sometimes you could get your hands on it. Sometimes you have to make and schedule an appointment to see certain documents, and you can't take pictures of it. Okay, you have to go in there. They let you view it. They let you see it, but you have a specific time frame to view it. You know, certain very, very old documents, etc., books, and you can't take any pictures. So this lets us know that a lot of this ancient wisdom that does still exist, you know, that has been hidden. Okay, it is now bringing its way forward, and it's so much more that the collective of Americans and a lot of the people within the world, I'm not going to say a lot, but a large amount of people in the world that we do not know, that we do not even know that they've been existing the whole time, with our faces on it, with our women on it, the same women that the U.S. pushes that are nothing but bees and hoes. It's propaganda. We are the divine women of the planet. We are the earth daughters of the planet. We are connected to the universe. And it's been agents of darkness that have been trying to keep women down globally. And in order to keep the women down, you got to keep the women down that were literally directly through our DNA. We still carry that God gene in our blood, in our DNA, that only we could pass down to our children, not the males. And it was done like that on purpose. When you see certain males of our race that are just self-haters, that are totally disconnected from the source, that are trapped in the physical, that have drank too much Kool-Aid and their mind is all out of whack. We see it, and we see why the divine and the Heavenly Father allow the God gene to only be passed through the women, because Without us, it doesn't move. And it's just the truth. We have the power to wield and create into reality what we want to wield and create into reality. And the Aboriginal women on the planet, especially the Khans of America, we are the Khans, baby. We are the Khans of America, the Americans, the original Americans. There's nobody that's before us. We're the first and we're going to be the last. It just is what it is. But now the world is being exposed to certain wisdom and certain knowledge that the so-called Vatican and the so-called Russians are bringing out. They already had this stuff. The so-called Pope, before he, we know what's going on with that. If you don't know, research it. But the Pope was bowing down to the so-called Black Madonna behind the scenes. She looks like us. She's of our bloodline. The Black Madonna in Heru, her child that she was able to recreate on her own. See, that's God. That is the genetics that we come from. The more you do your history, the more you look into your history, the more you research, the more you connect with the universe, you start to see certain things that the regular person can't see. And you start to see a little different. You start to be able to pick up on things. You start to be able to see through lies. Like the lie that Caucasian women are better than Aboriginal women and Aboriginal American women. That's a lie. That's always been a lie. We can look physically at the genetics and see that that is a lie. And that is why so-called Caucasian degeneracy, aka white degeneracy, even was created and brought into existence. It was brought into existence based off of the insecure minds of Caucasians, with them knowing that they are recessive to the planet, that they are the newest people on the planet, that we are way, way, way by far older than they are by millions and millions and millions of years. That's why they wanted to control the narrative. That's why they're always talking about so-called Black Americans being from Africa, not being important, being slaves, being enslaved, being this, being that, when the original colonists came over here as slaves. They don't want to talk about the Dark Ages, though, with the Moors in Europe. Anytime we start talking about that, people start getting silent. Why? Because the Moors are actually of the bloodline of the Khans from ancient America. And the Moors, aka the Tartarians, ruled the world globally during that time period for a very, very long time. They don't want to talk about that. They just want to talk about how Black Americans were just born to be slaves and da-da-da-da-da. And they don't have any history, because our true history exposes who they truly are, exposes who we are, exposes who we've been. That far outdates that little 500 years of enslavement. And I'm not going to say little, because our people did go through a lot of hell and torment with these foreigners being able to come into our land, along with the Black Europeans, along with traders of our own kind, to openly wage war and steal our lands and enslave us. See, with their so-called U.S. history, I'm not going to call it American. I'm going to call it U.S. because the U.S. is a corporation. It's a foreign-run corporation, but the land of America is ours, and it's always been ours. That's why nobody could come over here and grow on our land how we did. So they enslaved us and basically got the same result. But everything had to fall into prophecy in the spirit, and it had to manifest itself in the physical. We had to pay for something that our ancestors did as the Tamarican Indians in the land of Tamari, in the land of the original Atlantis, in the land of ancient Egypt, and the land of the Hindu, the original Buddhists. All of this is America. America is the old world. That is why the spiritual Babylon has to fall here but it's going to go and happen globally. And that's why you see all of these cataclysms, I believe that's the right word, all of this torment, all of these wildfires, all of these floods globally. It has to happen here first. And simultaneously, at the same time, it's spiritual and it's manifesting in the physical. It's prophecy. The truth is that the matriarchy is aligned with nature and in balance with a solar system, which we are a solar planet in nature. A patriarchy is out of touch with nature, and we see how this patriarchy has been globally ruling for some time. And we can look at the planet and we can look at people and the state of people and see how it's so much devastation, so many wars, so much death, so many people starving, so many women fending for themselves, so many males becoming lovers of themselves. It's all written down in prophecy. It's written down, even down to certain bloodlines on the planet that have had different names throughout time. It all connects back. It all connects back. See, I want to jump back because, my mind is so deep, y'all. My mind is so deep, and it has so many different compartments, and it's so vast. And one idea jumps out, and then it connects with this one and that one and this one, and then it jumps back to the original point. My mind is very amazing, and I am an intellectual, and I just allow the thoughts to flow. But what I am saying has been documented. And it's not just a fact because somebody says it is. It's actually been validated. Not only on a physical level of documentation and primary sources and real primary lived examples, but through validating it through the universe, validating it through the soul, in which I have access to. So I'm just seeing the breakdown of so many different people and foreigners that have come into America, however many generations they've been here. And I'm seeing people have mental breakdowns and them just losing it. And I'm like, well, how did you think that American Negroes were feeling when we could try so hard and we put our best foot forward and we, save up our coins and, we do certain things just to have systematic suppression and blockages and oppression to try and keep us contained, keep us from reaching certain heights, organically. Not the ones that, go and sell their souls to the devil for a check, for a mansion, for an opportunity. No, we're not speaking about them. We're talking about the ones that was getting it out of the mud, saying, you know what, I'm going to put my best foot forward. I want to do this. I'm going to save up this money, this and that, working hard, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps just for the system, just for racist people within the system, bots within the system, to tear them down, to find them unnecessarily, to jail them unnecessarily, hypothetically speaking, because they dared to move forward. They dared to go their own way and strive for success. See, this is what we have been speaking about the whole time. And to all those people, foreigners that were, aligned with whiteness, of any complexion, because we know now that whiteness is status, but they just told us that whiteness was Caucasian skin. See that? You see how the system works. You see how the U.S. works. How it's totally ridiculous and it is totally rigged and it's unfair. And now other people are seeing it. They're feeling it. They're experiencing it. See, when it was happening to us, Everybody had something to say. Everybody had an insult to hurl. I like that. Everybody had an insert to hurl. Everybody had a stop complaining, pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of energy. Stop being lazy. Stop being a thug. Stop being, um ratchet. Stop being this, stop being that. But when we look at these other groups and we see their people being thugs. We see them being ghetto. We're seeing their females being ratchet. We see them going against each other. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, we've been against each other the whole time, but we just didn't want to tell Black people all of this bullshit that's now coming to the forefront because it can't be hidden anymore. Oh, Caucasian woman coming out, Caucasian male coming out. We're just really insecure when it comes to, American Negro, women and men being together and, them being in certain jobs where we are because we feel like our whiteness is threatened. Yeah, all of that. All of that is now coming out to the forefront. Oh, we feel like, certain spaces and, certain exclusive places where only Caucasian, so-called whiteys are only allowed. Oh, when we see a American Negro Indian or an American, so-called Black American come in the door or come in and eat and have brunch and have tea, we feel threatened because this was just only for us. This is our secret club. See, that is institutionalized racism. Caucasian degeneracy that we've all been seeing and knowing about for some time. Why should another person having access to resources, having access to places and spaces, okay, and opportunities trigger you so much if you're just the best? If you're just the most beautiful, if you're just the best of the best, the highest of the highest? No, only people who are insecure with their position, weak in their position, knowing that they're not the best in whatever lane they are in, whatever avenue that they are that they are in, industry that they're in, they know that they're not the best, and they could actually see that other people are better. So they go out of their way to try to sabotage. They go out of their way to try to get people fired from jobs that they're qualified for, because they don't want them to have the get paid a good wage because they're insecure. See, they want to stand on top of people. And I'm using this as an example because the so-called Caucasians in America have been doing this to so-called original Americans, so-called AKA Black Americans, not the Native Americans, because we know that those are Eurasians and that they are not organic to America. They just migrated over here just like the Mexicans, and that's why they're being deported, because they have no rights to this land, similar to the Eurasian Mexicans, because they came over here and settled into the Americas from Eurasia, from Siberia, from Mongolia. That is their origin, not the Americas. And that is why Trump is able to get them up out of here. But guess who ain't going nowhere? The American Negro Indians, because this is our land. This is our land. We are the originals of this land. Getting back into our original status, we have to do that, of course. But with moving forward, I want to wrap this conversation up. I'm just, I'm sitting back, I'm sipping my tea, eating my crumpets, and I'm watching, all these people just have so many different meltdowns and breakdowns. And it's kind of like, wow. When it was unbearable for us, nobody cared. When we were the only ones being affected by certain policies, within the corporation, the U.S. corporation, nobody gave a damn. When the police was policing policing in our communities and harassing our children and our men and our women, nobody gave a damn. See, now that it's happening to these Mexicans, these Eurasians, these so-called Native Americans, and to all foreigners that are over here illegally, regardless of their race or ethnicity, now all of a sudden it's a human rights violation. All of what was done to us is being brought to the light from old and new. And all that hatred is being returned a millionfold to all the ones that sent it to us as a collective. It didn't matter if we were outstanding people. We were good people, good-hearted people, always loving and caring for everyone else but ourselves. Or we was some of the most, those of us that were so selfish and, money driven and ego driven and didn't care about, the collective. It was all about money, all about a bag, all about them getting something, all about them getting a step up. They don't care who they gotta stab in the back to get it. They all saw us the same. Even if they saw that we were different. The good and the bad. You guys are just black people. It doesn't matter. You guys are just black people. It doesn't matter. We could see you guys, trying to raise good families and be upstanding people, and the quality of your people shits on the quality of their people in real life, in their family dynamic. But they choose to, they're all just black people. You see, like, y'all, I cannot make this up. We're seeing now that being Caucasian is not enough anymore. Being labeled as so-called whitey white, even if you're blackety black in skin texture, like a lot of these foreign Africans that are not indigenous to America, it's not enough anymore. It's not enough anymore. See, this whole system was built on giving to foreigners and taking from the original Negro Americans and laughing in our face and spitting in our faces. And now you all are reaping what you sow. Also, the traitors of our own kind is going to reap what they sow right along with you. Those that always had something negative to say, anytime we're doing well, what are they doing? Selling drugs? What is he, a rapper? Meanwhile, their grandfather, great-great-grandfather, the reason why he has all of this generational wealth and old money and land is because was a goddamn murderer. And he stole land from our people. Tormented people, stole their land, murdered people, and it's just like, wow, isn't it the kettle? I forgot the saying, the kettle calling something black. No so-called street thug on the street selling nickel and dime bags is going to amount to a person that killed and kidnapped hundreds of people in the past and or currently to get money, blood money, land with blood attached to it. Those are bigger thugs to me than anything. And that's where a lot of all of that old Caucasian money comes from. Not only in the US, but in Britain, in certain European countries. We know that. That's our money. And we see now. We see you now. Just like we know all skin folk is not kinfolk. We know that all Africans are not our people. We know that all Caucasians, just because they throw their fist in the air and say Black Lives Matter, that doesn't mean that they give a fuck about us. It's all about using us when they need us and throwing us away and beating us back down to the bottom so that they could stand on us, so that they could steal our land, so that they could make money off of our inventions, our intellectual property, our resources, and continue to aid in our demise. But that time is over now. Peace to the collective.